Hello everyone, and welcome to the TCOYD Home for the Holidays virtual conference. Before we begin our opening session, we wanted to kick things off with a song and video produced by our very own Jeremy Pettus and Eric Bird. They took a well-known holiday song that I'm sure you're familiar with and made it a bit more relatable for those of us living with diabetes, particularly around the holiday times. It's called I'm Tired of My Diabetes, and it goes like this.
I'm tired of my diabetes and the crap that comes with it. The holiday times are especially rough, and I'm an endocrinologist. My CGM won't stop screaming at me, no, the highs and lows won't stop. Did a guest showing up at 3, but I still haven't had time to shop. You can get a very funny feeling when you're low. Children screaming, in-laws fighting, find me in the bathroom crying. I'm tired of my diabetes, will you pass me 6 cookies? Don't even say a word to me, keep your thoughts to yourself, please. Tired of my diabetes, don't you know just what I mean? Stuffing and mashed potatoes with cheese are destroying my A1C. I should pre-bolus, this I know, but this wine's catching up with me. How many carbs in this pumpkin pie? I don't care, give it to me. I don't know if I can prick my finger one more time. Test strips, lancets, use syringes. On this shit my whole life hinges. I know that you're tired of diabetes, but remember this one thing. We're in this together all as one with TCOYD.
Hello everyone, Steve Edelman here, my ultimate good friend Jeremy Pettus, and we're here to welcome you to our holiday virtual TCOYD conference. We have so much great stuff planned today, and we're going to talk a lot about diabetes today and how it has affected your life.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here. So, we are both endocrinologists. We both work at the University of California, San Diego. We were both diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when we were 15.
Couple years apart.
Yep, a few. And, I think obviously we got to kick this off. This is a virtual conference. We're doing this because of COVID. We used to do these live in-person events, but there definitely is a silver lining to these virtual conferences that we can reach a whole lot of people, all of you guys out there watching.
Worldwide.
Yeah, we have people from every state represented in the United States, and usually somewhere between 40 and 60 countries. So people all over the globe.
He's been drinking eggnog a little early this year.
Tuning in to learn about diabetes. So, just a few kind of housekeeping things. So, in the magic of the virtual world, we have actually recorded this a couple days ago. So if you're watching live, Steve and I will actually be, on our computers typing in the Q&A section, which is going to be over here. So make sure to click on that. You can, just tell us where you're from, who you are. We will be responding to you. So don't be weirded out like how Steve and Jeremy responding to me when they're here. It's magic. Anything you want to say about that?
You know what? The other thing too is, anytime you go to our website, we have a nice blog. We put a lot of effort into answering everybody's questions.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like we're here, but we recorded it earlier. Have you, it's the question. If a big tree falls in a forest, does it make any noise?
So I don't understand how that relates, but I know what you're getting at. But so basically on the Q&A thing, if someone has a comment, you can click on their comment and reply to them also. So it's just a fun way to have a conversation, one of the benefits of this virtual world. So the other housekeeping thing I wanted to say is that we have this, this healthcare setup where there's booths. So basically different companies, diabetes companies that have different products. A lot of them are represented here in the health fair, and several of them have live representatives that you can talk to.
You can video chat.
You can video chat,
Yep.
which is a really good feature. So make sure to take advantage of that because they can help you maybe get one of the medications or, just answer all your questions. And that's something I think has been underutilized before.
Yeah, and I think it's important for all of you to know that putting on these conferences, is not cheap. And our corporate sponsors give us funding in the form of unrestricted educational grants. They don't tell us what to say. They don't tell us how to say it. And we only allow companies that make good products that we believe in. So, and many of the health fair folks that you'll meet have diabetes themselves.
Yeah. All right. So setting up kind of this talk. So first of all, you just saw my performance with Eric and, doing this diabetes song. That we're calling I'm Tired of My Diabetes. So look for it on YouTube. And, obviously in that song, we're talking about the very real struggles of living with diabetes, the ups and downs, the highs, the lows, you can't eat this, all this stuff, which is very real. Steve and I have been struggling with type 1 diabetes since we were 15. And that's actually important to say again. We're both endocrinologists. We both have all the tools available at our disposal. We have healthcare insurance. And I have, on the daily or certainly weekly basis, highs, lows. My A1C is not always where I want it. This is a tough disease. So the struggles are definitely real. But for right now, we want to leave the negatives in the song, that we had a good kind of time with that. And we want to focus on some of the positives. And specifically to ask the question, in the holiday spirit of diabetes or gift giving, of diabetes being a gift, and how has diabetes affected you in kind of a positive way? So we want you guys to kind of, start using the Q&A to tell us about maybe your positive experiences with diabetes. And Steve and I are going to be talking about kind of our experiences. So,
and the theme really today is diabetes is a gift. It's a gift to yourself and it's a gift to others. And there's always a silver lining, and that's basically, just having a good attitude about it. We're here with it. Might as well make the most of it.
Yeah. And a lot of times at these lectures, I've said, getting type 1 diabetes was the best thing that ever happened to me. And some, on the hard days, I think that's complete BS, and like, I just,
Yeah.
But it's true. A lot of times, like it really has given me a lot. Doesn't mean I don't, resent it from time to time or all the time. But it definitely has given me some things, and I know it has given you some things. So with your story, Steve, let's just talk, briefly about, when you were diagnosed, how you were diagnosed, and then I want to get into TCOYD, which I think is a gift that you've given the world, really, taking your diabetes and kind of forming TCOYD. So let's start when you're 15. You want to tell that story real quick?
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'll lead up to where we're going to get off into the TCOYD, but just like you, I was 15. Was thirsty, urinating a lot, and I was having all kinds of problems at school because I was always raising my hand to go to the restroom halfway through the class. I finally begged my mom to take me to the doctor. What 15-year-old says I want to go to the doctor? And was thrown in the intensive care unit. Everyone went nuts, and the nurse kept saying, you could live a long life with diabetes. You could live a long life. And she probably said it 3 or 4 times, and I didn't know anything about diabetes.
Like, why? Of course I am.
And then why is she telling me all this? So I changed my career plans. I was going to be a dentist.
Really?
Because when I went to the dentist, he had a big chest full of toys. And so I said, I want to be a dentist so I can get all those toys. He didn't give out candy, of course. And then when I went to UCLA...
is that why you love toys so much? Like, to this day, this guy just buys water guns and stuff like that.
I love squirt guns.
So I'm glad. I mean, you didn't have to be a dentist to get squirt guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went to UCLA, and I decided I really liked the field of medicine, and I made that decision as an undergraduate at UCLA that I wanted to be a diabetes doctor. and I ended up going to UC Davis Medical School. And from then on out, it was diabetes, diabetes, and diabetes. I did my specialty training in Boston, a little bit like you, did some of your training there. And I moved out to UCSD as a faculty. I'm still on faculty at the VA and the university. And in 1995, I said, Jesus, I think I even said that word. I said, there's a lot of education going out to healthcare professionals about how to take care of their patients with diabetes, but nothing was really changing, even though there was hardcore evidence that if we can keep our blood sugars near normal, you know, the infamous A1C, we can prevent complications. That's my eyes, my kidneys. And even if you had complications, you could delay the progression.
Yeah, you know, and I think it's interesting to give people that context that certainly even like in the 1980s and into the early 90s, we didn't know definitively that controlling your blood sugars mattered in terms of, you know, reducing long-term complications, eyes, kidneys, things like that. So, you know, it blows my mind. I thought it was always a known entity that if you control your blood sugars, you're going to do better. But really, there was this kind of landmark article that was published in 1994, 1995 timeframe that finally showed it. That listen, if you control your blood sugars, you can do amazing. You can live a long and healthy life, and that hadn't been shown before. And here's Dr. Edelman, you know, who's gotten this message, and you know, wanting to take better control of patients, and you're saying doctors just weren't getting that message.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny you say it because you got the dates all wrong. He wasn't even born then. 1993 is the results of the diabetes control and complication trial. And there were a lot of studies before that one that clearly showed the same thing. But for US doctors, they needed one large study where half the folks with type 1 got good control and half didn't. And I felt bad for those that didn't. But make a long story short, that's how research works. And at that point, even though the study was completed, things weren't changing. You know, people are stuck in their habits.
Yeah.
And there were even some nerdy doctors that even stuck to their old adage, there's no proof that tight control prevents complications. But then what they hung on to was people got a lot of lows in the group that had tight control. So then they said, well, tight control prevents complications, but they're going to have too many hypos. You know, in a way, that was a concern back then. It's less so now with continuous glucose monitoring, but we know the majority of people in this country and around the world don't even have access to a continuous glucose monitor. They're still pricking their fingers, and you know, hopefully those days will be behind us in the near future.
So, you know, but tell your story. So you have this information.
Yeah.
Did you resent that doctors weren't taking better care of patients, or?
It really pissed me off. And I finally said, I'm going to give up on healthcare professionals for the moment. I'm going to change my focus to the people most affected by this condition, diabetes. And so that was the first conference in 1995, Take and Control Your Diabetes, San Diego Convention Center, where we had almost 1,000 people. And I was going to take the messages directly to them. And you know what happened? It was an awakening. People with diabetes were so thirsty for information. Putting on a patient conference was unheard of back then. All the education went to healthcare professionals. And I was originally going to do one a year in San Diego. I had my day job. I was raising 2 young kids. And then it was so magical and impactful that I said, okay, can't just stop with one a year in San Diego. We started to spread out. And that was 25 years ago. And now we have put on well over 200 major national conferences in the cities across America. And then, of course, COVID hit. And as you mentioned, the silver lining is for sure that we can reach more people and help more people, and many of you that are watching.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with the theme of diabetes being a gift, I mean, it is kind of interesting that just the single act of you getting diabetes when you're 15, you know, you were able to give back and create this whole organization that, you know, hundreds of thousands of lives, you know, touched in the virtual and live and all that. So it really has been a gift that you have given the world simply after just getting diabetes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you know what? The amount of people that TCOYD has touched, it's hard to even quantitate, because remember that we're educating their family members, their loved ones. And I think diabetes affects the whole family, and it can be a gift for not only yourself, but also the people that love love you and care for you. And not to say that everybody's walking around saying, I'm so happy I have diabetes, but it can make a positive influence in your life, your emotional relationships. It can bring you closer to your family. And yeah, I got diabetes. I felt like I needed to do something about it. It was the focus of my career, as you have yourself. And it's hard to really measure once again, but now that we're virtual, that our educational fingers and reach is so much greater.
Yeah, I'm just, the life path that you're on, like non-diabetic dentist Steve going this way.
Stealing the kids' toys when they close the office at night.
And then, you got type 1 diabetes, and type 1 diabetes, it made a powerful enemy in you, and to create this whole organization, to educate people. So I think that really is a gift. So I'm going to tell my story real quick, and then get into the professional part. And then I want to talk about how it's affected us kind of personally, been a personal gift to live with diabetes. Because I think a lot of people are probably thinking, great, but not everybody can be an endocrinologist or whatever. But it is simpler than that. So
Jeremy,
my story,
we never would have met each other.
That's true.
That's sad.
We're going to get there.
That's really sad.
Don't worry. So I was also diagnosed when I was 15. And my story, it was a classic diagnosis story. I was drinking, peeing all the time. I'll tell it real quick. It was actually the day that we moved my brother into college, because he was 3 years older than me. And we were moving him to the 6th floor of the dorms, and the elevators were broken. So it was the summer, it was like 100 degrees. I was lugging all this stuff up and down the stairs. I was so thirsty. My parents just kept giving me like Pepsis and Cokes, and I'm drinking them. And finally I threw up on Telegraph Avenue. If anybody knows Berkeley, it's kind of like a famous street. And I later went to college there, and I woke.
The stain is still there.
Yeah, I walked by this garbage can the whole time that I was in college. When I went there later, that I was like, man, that's the garbage can I threw up in when I was in DKA.
Interesting.
Went home. I actually ended up reading in a little textbook that my mom had, because she was kind of studying some medical stuff. And I was like, Mom, I think I have diabetes. And she's like, no, what are you talking about? We went to an urgent care place, and they checked my finger, and it just said high, which meant it was at least over 600. And the doctor said, I don't even know if he said diabetes at that time. I certainly don't remember registering it like you. But I do remember he said, you need to go to the hospital. But before you go to the hospital, go home, get a change of clothes, get a toothbrush, get a teddy bear, whatever you want. So, and
he's in college.
Yeah, well, I was 15, so I had a blanket. But anyways, so went home, grabbed all my goodies, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I don't want to go to the hospital right now. I'm hungry. Let's go to Chili's. She said, okay. So we went down to Chili's. I remember having a full plate of baby back ribs and the little like apple, side dish with it. I was drinking Dr. Peppers, and we're just talking about school coming up. And so there you go. So real life right here. The great Dr. Edelman occasionally has high blood sugars. This is proof. This wasn't staged, but he's going to survive.
Turn it off. 181, just above my upper limit. Darn.
So anyways, I'm eating my full plate of baby back ribs, and then finally I say, Mom, okay, let's go to the hospital. We get there. They said, oh my gosh, we've been waiting for you. And they usher me right into the intensive care unit. So I always tell people that I went from Chili's to the ICU in about 5 minutes. And, and then the usual stuff happened. It was all this education and coming to grips with, this isn't something you go to the hospital and you treat and you come home and you're normal again. As a 15-year-old kid, that's kind of hard to get your mind around, like, this is a forever kind of thing.
They teach you, now you got to start pricking your finger. You got to start injecting yourself.
Insulin. I remember getting low for the first time, just in feeling that sensation that you never felt before. But anyways, and then professionally, I think using it as a gift that, look, this is something that has been given to me. It's something I know. I want to learn more about it. I want to help others like me. So went to medical school, and, now an endocrinologist treating patients, and then involved with TCOYD to do stuff like this. So for both of us, it's had this professional kind of like affected our career goals. And again, you don't have to be an endocrinologist. There's all kinds of people with type 1 diabetes that have gone into diabetes in some form, that they are bloggers, they're pharmaceutical reps, they're podiatrists, whatever. I think it does create a source of empathy that it makes people kind of want to give back. And it doesn't have to be just in diabetes, but it does instill, I think, in people this real understanding of kind of a human condition.
Yeah. What you're saying resonates so much. It turns out that when you have diabetes, and you're a healthcare professional like we are, it's a really, I would say, strange situation at times. And I don't know about you, but you probably put it in the back of your mind. We go to medical meetings and it's all about diabetes. Half of it is about complications of diabetes, and they say, 50% of people with type 1 diabetes die from this. And I'm going, oh, that's too bad. I really feel sorry for those folks. I go, oh, yeah, I have diabetes myself. But I think the other thing I just wanted to mention, Jeremy, is that when I see patients in clinic at the Veterans Hospital, at the university, when I see people with diabetes around the country at our conferences, I think that we have a certain level of empathy that is hard to do if you don't have diabetes yourself. And I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I really give a lot of kudos to healthcare professionals that you and I know that are diabetes specialists that don't have diabetes, that have tons of empathy. So I think on the healthcare professional side, empathy is so important, and that's going to develop a good relationship with their patients, and then hopefully good outcomes will come from that. So that's something I think you and I can really help people we interact with that are living with diabetes.
Yeah. So obviously you and I both use type 1 to affect our careers, which is great. But I think on the kind of day-to-day personal level, thinking about other ways that diabetes has been a positive. And for me, a big one, well, I would say three things. One, I already mentioned the career. Two would be just my overall health. I don't know if it's true, but I do believe it really has made me more in tune, certainly with my body, how food affects me, how exercise affects me. I want to live a long and healthy life. I have 2 little kids. I want them to, see them grow up and get married and all those things. So it's made me focus on my health a lot more. And we will say this probably several times throughout the conference, but there's now evidence that if you can control your blood sugars in a reasonable level, 8% or A1C of 8% or less or so, that people with diabetes are now shown to live just as long, if not longer, than people without diabetes. And as Steve was mentioning, both of us, when we were diagnosed, they said, you just lost 15, 20 years of your life. That was just the thing. Like that. And that is not true anymore. If you control your diabetes, this isn't BS, you can and you will live a long and healthy life. So that's an important message. And I think, again, for me, it really, has helped kick my butt a little bit, get on that exercise bike, go for a walk, maybe, avoid the carbs a little bit, stuff that I probably would not have done.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I think, there's this old saying that, if you develop a chronic condition and take care of it, you could live longer than other people. And I would say for you folks living with type 2, I've seen it so many times that you might have some weight problems that's inherent with the condition, high blood pressure, abnormal cholesterol, and you're going along. And all of us, you're not that symptomatic. You get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, then all of a sudden, if you get motivated, you start exercising more.
Yep.
You lose a little bit of weight. You get your blood pressure and cholesterol under control that are really asymptomatic. You don't really feel those conditions that lead to all kinds of cardiac strokes and stuff like that. So there's no question that if you get diabetes, you take care of it, you're going to live a long and healthy life. Now, part of it is also the attitude.
Well, I was just going to say that is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
That we focus on blood sugars and these medications and things like that. But if somehow you can change your mindset, it's not going to happen overnight. That this is an opportunity, to get on top of my health, not just my diabetes, but blood pressure, cholesterol, weight, all these kinds of things. It can be helpful to think of it in that light.
Yeah, and I know some of you out there are probably struggling emotionally.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, how they react to it differently. But I also want to say that it could really be a gift, once again, for the whole family, to get them exercising together, eating the good foods together, not holding back on things you really love, but maybe if those foods are really bad for you, then in moderation.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this right before we started filming, that I live with diabetes. I really enjoy donuts more than any of you normal glycemic folks.
Because you just know you're really going for it,
It's so special.
Yeah.
The buttermilk glaze. Oh my God.
Another small thing, is like, low blood sugars are awful, but everything tastes delicious. Oh my God. And if you had that donut when your blood sugar was low, forget about it. You could eat 18 of them.
Yeah. We can laugh about these things.
Yeah.
And we hope that we can help some of you watching about, just saying, listen, I've got diabetes. I can't snap my fingers, it's going to go away, but I can certainly live a long and healthy life with it and help others.
Yeah. And setting small, realistic goals. I'm not going to run a marathon tomorrow, but, I'm going to start walking or whatever it might be. Actually sitting down, taking time to think about, New Year's resolutions coming around, just small obtainable goals, whether you have type 1, type 2, or love somebody with type 1 or type 2, how you can kind of live a healthier life. All right. So for me, career, the health aspect of it. And then the last one is the community, which for me has been huge. Steve, you mentioned, you were kind of joking, like meeting you. And that has been...
I wasn't joking.
Well, I know. It came earlier than on my thing here, and I was upset about it. So, no, I never would have met Steve, other people living with diabetes. I always say when I'm just out walking or I'm at the gym or something, I see somebody with an insulin pump or CGM, you just have this immediate, like, oh, I just want to go, like, talk to them.
Brotherhood.
Yeah, like give them a hug or just chat with them. So you just have this immediate kind of bond and connection. And so, some of my friends with type 1 diabetes are some of my best friends. And I always say this when I talk to Steve about diabetes, it's not as a doctor conversation. It's just like, oh man, my blood sugar's high again. This sucks. It's just somebody who gets it, who can lament with you, who doesn't judge you, who's been there too. So having friends with diabetes in this community is so great. I don't know. And maybe you're thinking, I don't have a Steve Edelman. I don't have a friend. This is a great opportunity to meet somebody virtually, exchange emails, phone numbers, whatever you want to do, because that someone to lean on or at least just vent to is huge.
There's not much I can add to that, my friend, but I have met so many great people that inspire me. We're going to hear from some of those in a second. That truly inspire me. You inspire me. I learn from you. I learn from others. And, life is a precious thing, and we have to enjoy every single day, whether you have diabetes or not. Just got to grab it by the horns, and take advantage.
Yeah. So I think, we've listed some things that it's definitely affected us in a positive way. We have some clips now of some of our friends living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes that are going to share a couple minutes of their experience, on how it's been a gift to them, how it's been positive. And while, we're hearing from these people, we want to continue to hear from you. I'm really excited for future Jeremy to see what's going on over here and respond to you guys. Future Steve also.
That's right.
Yeah. So do that. We're going to throw it to our friends and we're going to come back here in a second.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hyvel Ferguson Davis. I am part of a national campaign in conjunction with the American Heart and the ADA campaign for the class of 2019 No Diabetes by Heart. In my community, diabetes is known as sugar. It has become a silent killer. Being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes a few years ago has taught me a lot. It's taught me how to fight, but it's taught me how to be a better mother, a better wife, a better sister, and a better friend. I didn't know how strong I was until I was able to understand the veracity of what diabetes did to my body. Post-stroke, heart attack, and quadruple bypass. It has been a gift, especially in my community, to be that voice for those who don't understand the complex nature of not gaining control of your levels or understanding what to do. It has motivated me to inspire others to gain control, to understand why it's imperative that we go to our doctors. So I'm going to leave you with a bit of advice. You see, living with diabetes has been a gift, and a gift of living beyond my own understanding, to learn how to fight, to have the arsenals to live despite being diagnosed, living strong and thriving. We all want that for ourselves and our family members. How do we start? My advice to you is to start that communication today with your family members. And then you go to the doctors and you learn as much as possible. Because when you go to the doctors, you understand your numbers, you gain control. So the information is vital, despite a diagnosis, to understand and gain control. You see, diabetes has taught me a lot. It has taught me how to fight. It's taught me how to be a stronger person and individual. It's taught me to break generational behaviors in my own family. And I take that gift of understanding. Although I've been diagnosed, to live beyond. But my gift of diabetes is to be a blessing or a gift towards the world. Have a beautiful day and gain control. It's all up to you. It's up to your family members to understand that this too is a fight worth fighting. Gain control of your numbers. Take the initiative to understand. Start communication. Know your numbers, but it's vital that you start today. Because despite living with diabetes, you can still thrive. My gift this season is to be a gift to you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Sean Busby, a professional snowboarder and founder of Riding on Insulin action sports camps for kids and teens living with type 1 diabetes. I also have type 1 diabetes myself, and through the years of living with this disease, I've come to appreciate a few things about it. One of those things is the resiliency I've learned about managing a chronic disease such as type 1. For me, it's made me extremely strong in my athletics with my sport where I have to be resilient, and it's giving me a whole new level of mental toughness. And now that we're all living in this weird kind of pandemic world, that resiliency has helped me a lot with being able to manage this disease in my own personal bubble. And the other thing I've come to appreciate that type 1 diabetes has given me is a community. And that's been incredibly important in situations such as what we're all facing right now. The diabetes community is like no other, and you can go out and you can reach out to people in this community and they'll understand exactly what you're going through and the things that you're experiencing because they go through it as well. And that is incredibly important with dealing with a disease such as diabetes. And so I'm thankful this holiday season to have such a strong social support of a community in this disease, as well as the resiliency that's given me, that I know I can get through any tough times and tough days and get back to living my best life.
Hello, everyone. I am Chef Robert Lewis, the Happy Diabetic. I love food. Early in my life, I started messing around in my mom's kitchen. I loved learning how to make food that tasted great and looked good. As a young adult, I had an opportunity to attend a prestigious chef school to hone my skills in the kitchen. But it wasn't until I was personally diagnosed with type 2 diabetes that I began my quest to learn how food directly impacts health, both my personal health and the health of anyone who loves to eat. There is no doubt that having diabetes has resulted in me paying closer attention to what and how I eat and how it affects my body. Look, I monitor my blood sugar with regular daily checks and regular A1Cs. I've learned that cutting back on levels of sugar, salt, and fat, all those really good things that add flavor to foods, has a very positive impact. So as a chef, I've learned how to add back the flavor in dishes where I have limited those flavorful demons. Now, you might want to know this about me. I am fiercely stubborn about eating great tasting food. I've also learned about portion control and balance. Being aware of my food counts, like calories and carbohydrates, has given me back a proper sense of what a reasonable portion is for me. That is something difficult to do in America, where restaurants are happy to overserve. Individual food portions are often delivered to us in our favorite chain restaurants in portions on platters that would serve a whole family. Diabetes has opened my eyes to this and helped me plan ahead so that I'm not tempted to overeat. As a chef who lives with type 2 diabetes every single day, just like many of you, I've learned some strategies for healthier and happier living. Through our partnership with TCOYD, we can work together and make your eating healthier and happier too, by just paying a little closer attention to the foods you choose, as well as the preparations and portioning. You may find that living with diabetes results in your cooking and eating healthier too. So let's do this together. Visit me at happydiabetic.com and I will show you how. Have a great conference.
Hi there, my name is Carrie Sparling and I'm here to talk about the gifts of diabetes. What are they? Please tell me, I'm not sure. No, there's gotta be some, there are a couple. I've had type 1 for 34 years. I was diagnosed when I was 7, and so the majority of my life has been spent with this disease. And I don't know any differently. And I feel like diabetes has given me a perspective that's done me well over the course of some really difficult moments in my life. So what's in the gift bag that comes with diabetes? Diabetes has made me appreciate my mother in a way that I'm not sure I would have otherwise. When I think about what it's like to have had a kid with type 1 diabetes, that she had to just jump in and figure out how to make everything work and to not go nuts. My mother made diabetes something that was not a hurdle in my making friends as a kid or doing school stuff or just having a general good life. She made diabetes minimized. But what came at the cost of that minimization was her having to take the mantle of being my pancreas. And as her daughter, especially now as a grown-up with kids of my own, I am so appreciative of what she must have had to do and go through and think about all the time in order to make my life feel normal. And it did. I've said thank you to my mom a bunch of different times. A lot of it is because I was a real crumb as a kid in certain ways, but it made me feel like she needed to hear how grateful I was for the stuff that she did and the fact that our relationship was able to survive and grow and flourish as a result of this challenge that we faced as a team. Diabetes has made me appreciate the journey towards motherhood. I don't know, I think maybe more than I would have otherwise, because it was hard to get here. It was hard to get pregnant sometimes. It was hard to manage a diabetes pregnancy. It is hard to parent sometimes with diabetes, but I don't think it's diabetes that makes things difficult on the parenting side. I just think parenting is bananas sometimes. But knowing the efforts it took to have my children and knowing how hard it was and knowing I would do it again and again and again in order to get those outcomes, it makes me appreciate them and my family a lot, like so much. I don't know how to put words to the fact that my kids mean so much to me, and the diabetes amplifies that. Diabetes has always helped me appreciate what it takes to achieve a baseline that other people take for granted. And I say this all the time, but it really matters, because if I get up and I get through the day and everything is cool and I feel like diabetes didn't impose too much on what I was doing, that's like 10 times more than your average person is doing just to get through a day. And I feel like that's so badass to know that we get diabetes done and we do regular life stuff at the same time. There's got to be a superhero power baked into that somehow. Sometimes diabetes feels like a lot. Sometimes life feels like a lot. But growing up with type 1 and doing this for 34 years reminds me that I can do this. And if something else in my life seems difficult and challenging, I can do that too. There's nothing in my life that I can't do other than make insulin. That seems to be the one hang up. But aside from that, everything else is fair game. Another gift, peer support. You guys, knowing that I am not alone, that I am not the only person muddling through life with diabetes dragging along behind me, and that I can get it done. I can do well. I can live well. I can be happy. You guys show me that all the time, that as a community, we are capable of amazing things, and being part of this community and seeing that play out over and over again, knowing we are not alone, knowing we are together on this journey is huge. That is the best free gift. That is the most consistent gift. I am into that gift. And the rest of it, the rest of diabetes can go screw. I'm not into it. But the emotional benefits of life with chronic illness, the way that it has taught me appreciation and perspective and patience, I value that so much. And I think that I find it a gift because I know I can't return diabetes yet. It is sticking around for a while, and it could potentially be here as long as I am. And that, I can't loathe something that I live with. I can't hate something that I'm trying to live in peace with. And so finding the gifts of diabetes helps me live well with diabetes. And that sounds super like rah-rah weird, but I'm trying to lean into that these days because things are getting difficult across the board, and it's good to find the moments that make you feel empowered and make you feel part of something bigger than yourself, and like it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. We're going to be okay, especially if we stick together. So thanks for letting me ramble.
Hello, everyone. Unlike so many of my colleagues here today, I don't have diabetes yet, but it has been my privilege and honor that so many thousands of you have been willing to share your stories and your journeys and your nightmares and your struggles and your glorious successes with me. And thanks to you and thanks to diabetes, you know, I have over the past 30 plus years of my practice become, I think, a better listener and a better researcher. And because you have accepted me into the world of diabetes, I have made so many wonderful new friends. And you've given me the gift of knowing that I can make a difference in this world. You've inspired me with your struggles, and I've seen how things have changed for the better over these 30 years. In particular, we now know that with good care and effort, and with the awesome tools and treatments that we now have available, and with the wonderful programs and resources, just like TCOYD, we know you can succeed. And it's now so much more likely that more and more and more will live long and healthy lives. So thank you all for helping me to become a better psychologist, a better friend, and a better person.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
So, I love hearing those stories, and I hope that you out there can relate to at least one of them. It's just so inspiring to hear these kinds of things. We actually have one more story that Steve wanted to just kind of verbally tell us about. So take it away, Steve.
Yeah, Urban couldn't be here today, but Urban Mayores has been my patient at the Veterans Hospital for over 2 decades. And his story is unbelievable. And believe it or not, diabetes saved his life. He was a platoon sergeant in Vietnam. He started losing weight, thirsty. He was coming down with diabetes. He kept going back to sick bay. They thought he was afraid of being killed in Vietnam and didn't want to serve. And they said they would court-martial him. So
yeah, that they were just worried that he was just trying to get out of combat.
Yeah.
They was faking it.
Yeah, he's faking it. And they told him he would have to walk point. What does that mean? It means that when there's a line of guys walking into enemy territory, you're the first guy. You're the first one that they shoot. So what happened in the middle of a big firefight, he was a platoon sergeant. He passed out from diabetic ketoacidosis, undiagnosed diabetes. He fell right into a rice paddy. All of his buddies were killed. And there's a part of the military, all they do is they follow up where a battle is. I learned all this stuff. It's so sad. And they put all the dead U.S. soldiers in a body bag. They ship them off to be identified. They put the dog tag in their mouth, and then they unzip them at a safer place. And then they do all the paperwork. And the gentleman, I think his name was Brian, he unzipped Urban's bag, and he noticed Urban was still breathing. He did notice there was no blood, which meant, he wasn't shot. War is pretty bad out there, but he noticed he was still breathing, and he rushed him to a hospital, and he was in the hospital for multiple months. And sure enough, diabetes saved his life. And Urban has had his own issues, being drenched with Agent Orange and becoming blind and needing a kidney transplant. But he started 2 not-for-profit organizations, Disabled Business Persons Association, helping people who are disabled to be successful at business, and Challenged America. He was a sailor. He loved boats. And he told me once he was going to sail from Long Beach to Hawaii on this race with 2 other disabled guys. And I said, yeah, right. I thought he was just a big talker. And sure enough, I see on the newspaper.
Well, you didn't say that, he actually lost his vision. So he's blind, but not from diabetes, just another issue. And so he's sailing without sight and things like, that's amazing.
I think I did say he was blind.
Did you? Okay, well, he's blind.
How's your hearing doing? No, I'm kidding. You know what? I'm glad you emphasized that. Yeah. But he's totally blind at age 26.
Yeah.
And he's got a great sense of humor. He has been to many Taking Control of Your Diabetes conferences.
And get this, he was a downhill skier record holder, completely blind.
In the Olympics, for disabled Olympics.
And he said there's a person out there that say, right, left, going through the slalom. it's just crazy what he's done. And literally, that story of it, just like diabetes literally saving his life, and then what he's done with it has been really incredible.
Yeah, I would encourage you to look him up online. He's written 2 books himself. He's been the center of several documentaries. So he's an amazing individual, and he's one of those guys that I've always said he's one of the most inspirational individuals I have ever met in my life.
Yeah. All right. Well, segueing now to talking a little bit about how we've used diabetes. Obviously, we talked about it being a positive and affecting your life. But what about ways that you've used diabetes to your advantage? And I'll start. So
you have way more stories than I do in that category. So
I've been wheeling and dealing since I was diagnosed, I guess. I would say the biggest one was that when I went to college, I found out that I qualified to be part of the Disabled Students Program. And I hated that name. I still do because I didn't view myself as disabled. But it's a huge perk, and it was things that I felt like actually I deserve because, you know, I'm dealing with blood sugars and things that other kids aren't. But part of that is I got priority classes, which at Berkeley, a big university, was a huge deal to get the classes I wanted. And get this, I could even have somebody come to classes for me and take notes. So I remember, you know, I'd be in my class and I had my guy, his name was Chad. You know, he would sit next to me and I'd be listening to the lecture and I was like, you know, did you get that, Chad? And, you know, he did. And, so thank God for Chad because now I'm a doctor and I had a guy that could take notes for me, although I didn't use it that much. But the point is, I tell people that there are these services that you are entitled to and should take advantage of for sure. So that's one of them.
Well, I remember the story where you weren't feeling that great and Chad went to class for you.
Yeah.
And you didn't tell him that you went to a party the night before.
That was a secret story, Steve. You weren't supposed to tell everybody that. But do you have any ones that you've used?
You know what? I shouldn't feel guilty about not having too many stories, but I did. I was riding with a friend on the freeway and he got pulled over for speeding. And I was a passenger and I kind of went like this. I put my tongue out and the cop came up and he said, my friend's having a low blood sugar. So the cop followed us off the off ramp. We had to go into a Denny's right there and pretend like we were eating something. So I think that's the only time.
And he got out of a speeding ticket?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, you know, some other things. It used to be that you could get this special pass at Disneyland to get in the front of the line. That was amazing. We had it really good there for a while, but they got rid of that, which, you know, sucks. But you can still get into national parks for free. You know, if you list that you have diabetes, there's other things that you can use. And let's not forget, yeah, the low blood sugar is a good just blanket reason to get out of stuff in general. You know, you don't want a vacuum, you don't want a speeding ticket, whatever. Oh, my blood sugar's low. So
you know what Urban told me once? He said, you know, it's a great excuse not to buy Girl Scout cookies when they come up and hit you up. Say, I'm a diabetic.
Or it's a great excuse to buy them. My blood sugar's low, like give them all to me.
What's your favorite?
That's the route I would go. I like the Thin Mints, but you know, to be honest, there's not a Girl Scout cookie I don't like.
I love the peanut butter.
Okay, well, there you have it. All right, so this is now the part we're going to wrap up because we talked about, you know, and again, we're not trying to, you know, sell you some fake information on diabetes is great. We get it. This is tough. The highs and lows, things like that. But we're just trying to realize that there are some positives, focusing on that, using it to live a better life, healthier life for you and your family.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat together. We want you to use the rest of the day to get educated, motivated, laugh a little bit, and pick up some individual tips for your own diabetes and bring your significant other in there as well too.
Yeah. And our next talks, you know, we're going to break into kind of type 1 lectures and type 2 lectures. I'm going to be talking about there's never been a better time to have type 1 diabetes, and you're going to be doing the type 2 version. And again, that is true. You know, you think about all the stuff we have now, CGMs, pumps, these different medications, it really, like the advances are awesome. So it'll be good to get some perspective on where we've been and what we have available to us now.
Yeah, I mean, as healthcare professionals seeing patients with diabetes, you know, we could honestly believe the fact that if you take care of your diabetes, you'll definitely live longer than maybe if you were not diagnosed in the first place, because we're paying attention to lifestyle, exercise, what we eat. And so, you know, it really is exciting times. And when we talk to younger doctors who are going to specialize and become diabetes specialists, I mean, they have such great careers ahead of them. There's so many exciting things
diabetes
in the field.
Is like kind of cool now, you know, with all the stuff going on.
Oh, if you're not a diabetic, you're a loser. That's my motto.
That is
his
motto. We usually end on that for some reason.
I'm starting off today with that.
So, you know, if we have some time in between the next lectures, it's a great time to check out the health fair, check out all the different booths, products you might be interested in, or go to the networking lounge where you can, you know, chat with people, because as I was mentioning, meeting other people is huge and is a big part of what TCOYD is all about. The community.
Probably one of the most important things you can do to live a long and healthy life. Get a good partner that understands your diabetes. Work together.
That's a good time to wrap it up. Oh, we're gonna hug. All right, thank you, buddy.
We just got tested. We got antibodies.
All right, we'll see you in the next talk.
All right, so long.